It's Ash from Super Videos back for another Q&A video. This is going to be Q&A number 34. So as always, if you're not caught up with the Walking Dead's TV show and comic book, you may not want to watch this video because it may spoil some things for you. So that being said, let's get right into this. Let's start with the Walking Dead's TV show questions. The first question comes from Michonne's mom. Great name. We see from Rick's POV, and that's why Rick's watch is as important as his gun. He's our watchman. What do you say? So I think Rick's watch is important because it's what links the post-apocalyptic world to the world that we know before. So before the apocalypse, the time represents some sort of order, some sort of timely manner to do things, and just in general, everything being in order. And so Rick keeping his watch and kind of taking it with him everywhere and having it represents the order from before, and that even though we're like 2 years into the apocalypse, the order has not been completely eliminated from the society. That's what it represents to me. And in the same way, Rick's gun represents this new world and the things you have to do in this new world to survive. So the two main things from Rick, his watch and his gun, symbolize both post-apocalyptic world and what Rick has to do in this new world, and his world before, the society that was there before the apocalypse. So in terms of those two, that's what I think it means or it symbolizes. So I don't really think that it represents Rick being our watchman or anything like that. I think it's just the watch represents time and order, and that's why Rick keeping his watch means that he's still keeping his humanity, the hope to the new world somehow going towards something like it was before. But that's a good question. The next question comes from Jacob Colon, and they ask, is Heath at the Oceanside? So I don't think so. There's been no sign for that. And if Heath was there, I would think that the Oceanside community would tell Tara, because of course Tara was there. So I don't think it quite matches up. So no, I don't think he's there. The next question comes from TheBlackAntiHero. They ask, do you think Scary Davey will be a major character in the Walking Dead TV show? So no, I don't think so. I think he's a short-lived character. I don't think we'll see him in season 8 anymore. I think sometime during this season that we're on, season 7, we're going to see the end of Davey, and he's going to get killed off. For comic readers, you know exactly how he's going to die. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait for that specific scene from the comics to happen in the TV show, but I definitely think it's gonna be in this half season. The next question comes from Bilat Ni Jeny. You have two questions. The first one, why did Daryl lie to Carol about Abraham and Glenn's death? For me, because he's protecting her and he doesn't want Carol to be depressed in avenging the saviors. So that was your thought. I definitely agree with you. I think Daryl lied to Carol because of what Carol said. Carol said, if they hurt any more of our people, that's what I would do. So basically I would kill them, but there'll be no more of me left. So you'll take chunks of my humanity away from me every time I do it. And that's why I think Daryl realizes that because he cares about her and he wants her to be happy and not turn into the monster she thinks she's becoming, he's lying to her so that that doesn't have to happen. The next question you have is, if you were the director, how would you want the communities Alexandria Safe Zone, Hilltop, Kingdoms, Scavengers, and Oceanside to unite during all-out war? So I think it'll be great to stick with the comics for this. So have it so that we think that it's a loss, that everything is just turning bad and everything is getting destroyed, and then the last minute all of these communities show up and help in the war and unite with Rick. So I think that's the way they should be going. But that's a good question. The next question comes from Nick Woods. They ask, what's your opinion on the continuity between the finale and the premiere of season 7? I'm assuming you're saying. For example, the way Negan said, hell, you're all going to be doing that in the finale versus the premiere. Yeah, I definitely think there are some continuity issues with the thing you said with Negan saying, hell, you're all going to be doing that. Because of course there was a pause in the premiere, but there was no pause in the finale. And of course with the person getting the bat, who was of course Abraham, saying suck my nuts in the premiere, but not saying anything in the finale. So I think there's definitely continuity issues, but it's just the way they did it. They did the finale and the cliffhanger. They kind of cornered themselves and they couldn't do anything about it. So I think with what they had, that's the best thing they could do. And I think they did it relatively okay. Just coming out of that loop that they were in and making sure that the whole thing is recreated correctly. So I think they did a good job, but there was still some continuity issues for sure. The next question comes from Zach Maddox. They say, "Hi Ash, I want your opinion. Who's Eugene better with, Rick or Negan?" Of course, being a supporter of Rick's group for this many years and this long, we're definitely siding with Rick. So we want people to be in Rick's side if they're good people and there's a potential that they're gonna bring something to the table for the community. And of course, Eugene being smart, I definitely think that Eugene is better with Rick. For Negan, of course, Negan would be glad to have Eugene on his side because of course of how smart Eugene is, but for me, I like Eugene with Rick's group much better. The next question comes from Final Mystery. T, you have 3 questions. The first one, would The Walking Dead be better if they changed TV network? And you have hashtag tone up the violence. So I definitely agree with you that specifically in this second half season of season 7, they have toned down the violence, and it's things like this that do make me think about what would happen if The Walking Dead was on a different network, perhaps HBO. I think the quality of the show would have been higher if it was in that network or any other network that doesn't censor the shows. So definitely agree with you there. The next question you have is, if Dwight did find Sherry, would he try flee again with her or bring her back to Negan? So I think that Dwight would have fled with Sherry if he found her, because of course he did bring her the pretzels and the beer, and I think that shows what he was gonna do. I think that gives it away. So if Dwight and Sherry found each other again, they would try to flee again for sure. Your last question is, do you think there is more pros than cons in Eugene joining Negan rather than the survivors who don't value him as much? I think that, like I said before, Eugene is definitely better with Rick and the others. I do agree with you that there has been some miscommunication, that Rick hasn't completely made Eugene see how valuable he is, and it seems like to Eugene that he's not being valued as much to the group than he is at the Sanctuary and the Saviors. But I think if Rick realizes this and finds a way to show Eugene how valuable he really is, much like what he does in the comics, Eugene will definitely understand his value to the community at Alexandria and the survivors, and he would definitely stay, and there'll be more pros than cons for Eugene staying with the survivors, both for Eugene and for the survivors. Let's move on to The Walking Dead's comic book / TV show questions. The first one comes from Royals35. Royal, they ask, when we meet the Whisperers in the show, do you think that we will get the heads on spikes? Yes, I definitely think that we will see that. It's too big of a event or storyline in the comics for it not to be adapted in the TV show. And the way it was in the comics with the panels, it was basically made for the TV show. So if you think about how they're gonna shoot that scene, it's gonna look pretty incredible, pretty epic in the TV show. So I think it's made for TV, for sure. And the next part of your question, do you think Rosita and Ezekiel will get their comic death? For Rosita, I think she is. With everything that's going on, I definitely think that Rosita is getting her comic death just like it was. But for Ezekiel, I think they may keep that, or they may keep Ezekiel for longer and have someone else get that death. But there is still that possibility that both of them still get that specific death. But that's a good question. The last question comes from Bilat Ni Jeny. Which characters are the possibilities for the second lineup? So I actually did a video about this a couple weeks ago, but in terms of specific characters, I would probably say Rick, I would probably say Tobin, Eric, Aaron, and Rosita maybe, and even Sasha or maybe another big character. But for the second lineup scene, I don't think there'll be too many big characters. So I think Rick is gonna be the only big character in that second lineup scene. And we're not gonna see people like Carl, Daryl, Michonne, Carol, or people like that. I think it's gonna be lower characters at Alexandria who are gonna be in that lineup scene. But that's a good question as well. That's it for this Q&A video. Thanks for participating. If you want to participate in my next Q&A video, please write your questions in the comment section below. Put Q&A before your question so I can find it. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back for another video.